This is the update for Atlas 3, and as of today, November 4th, we have a playlist if you want to learn about Atlas and everything that has happened from July 1st until now. We have the playlist on the channel. They say it shouldn't be there. This comet is starting to raise more questions among astrophysicists and experts. Many of the explanations that were given and confirmed just a few weeks ago have now become obsolete. There were even, YouTube channels dedicated to pure science where they claimed or assured certain things that in the end turned out not to be true. For example, there were some experts who claimed it had a lot of water, which was proven not to be true. They also claimed that there was no acceleration, but National Aeronautics and Space Administration itself confirmed that the acceleration exists and has been surprising. Little by little, many of the theories that claimed the comet was simply specific have been disproven. It can be explained naturally, and although maybe it can be explained naturally, obviously we are dealing with something exotic, something unique, and that's what makes it interesting. It is not known so far whether it is natural or not, simply because that's what the evidence is showing. The Atlas 3I, or the 3I Atlas, has already become the center of scientific debate after being detected on July 1st, 2025. This happened in Chile by the Atlas system, which specializes in tracking objects that could impact Earth. The Atlas system, whether in Chile or in Hawaii, there are different Atlas systems that are for early detection of objects like this. The object shows a trajectory that was unexpected and has caused great concern. As far as we know, the Atacama Large Millimeter Sub-Millimeter Array System, a network of radio telescopes, is not where gravity predicts it should be. This phenomenon is known as non-gravitational acceleration, something we've mentioned to you here. A movement not explained just by the sun's or other celestial bodies' influence. Among the most striking observations, 1/6 of its mass may have disappeared in just a month, which is highly unusual for a natural comet. The measured acceleration is 0.02 thousandths of a meter per second squared. This is equivalent to the release of more than 5.5 billion tons of material into space. Scientists think this massive loss may result from volatile material evaporating as it nears the sun. However, it is not a definitive conclusion. The comet shines with an unusually blue color, approaching the temperatures of the sun's surface, which would mean that if it were natural, a larger part should already be melted. The renowned astrophysicist Avila Eva has suggested a possibility. The acceleration is 0.02 thousand millimeters squared, which is equivalent to releasing tons per Avila. The renowned astrophysicist Avila Eva has suggested a possibility. He even went so far as to say that maybe this object was moving by antimatter fuel, something that obviously we wouldn't have the ability to create yet. He assured and gave some characteristics that we already discussed in a previous video. Despite the debate, it's not ruled out that the 13 Atlas is a unique interstellar object. According to the reports, its properties are unknown to modern science. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's artificial because of that, but it does mean that it's unknown to current science. Its characteristics simply can't be explained at the moment. According to the coming weeks, from now until December 19th, a lot more will be known about the object. If it's just a simple comet, it would be the rarest and most exotic in history. And if it turns out to be something else, well, we would have to see what it is. An artificial probe, as has been theorized, or maybe something else, an object that's half comet but has been altered by someone else. National Aeronautics and Space Administration announced it is preparing for a historic observation on December 19 but hasn't explained why. It hasn't released the images from the Mars camera, which captured the best, highest resolution images on October 2. Why haven't they been released? Because these cameras might have shown what's behind the sun. These photos are from behind the sun. It was its brightness. Its colorimetry is 5,800 degrees Kelvin, similar to the solar surface. Another thing is what European Space Agency is going to reveal. Also the European Southern Observatory, so it's not just National Aeronautics and Space Administration, it's European Space Agency, it's the European Southern Observatory. It would be expected that there would also be information from China, but so far, well, it seems they haven't wanted to share information or they don't have it. Its brightness, its composition, its dynamic behavior, its movements, its acceleration, all of that will be analyzed. It's being studied and theories will start to emerge in the coming hours, in the coming days, from different points of view. And that will be very interesting. Not conclusive, but interesting, since more information is expected before the 19th. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or Jet Propulsion Laboratory, detected a non-conventional trajectory, raising even more questions in the scientific community. If its acceleration is due to natural causes, it should be releasing visible gases and losing more mass, but it's not doing that. Apparently not enough. They claim it could have been launched from another solar system more than 10 million years ago. Others talk about 7 billion years and so on. Well, the theories, even about its origin, are still not clear. The object would have traveled billions of kilometers, which makes it, they say, a stellar time capsule. But there are many things that are said but still not understood. Being the third interstellar object detected, an extremely rare and valuable category in modern astronomy, they promise to offer unique clues about the formation of solar systems in case it is natural. And here is perhaps the most alarming part for the experts, for the astrophysicists, because there are things happening that shouldn't be happening. For example, the sudden change in brightness. The comet showed a sudden increase in its brightness, which is not common, and the rate of brightness increase was 7.5 times faster than other comets studied. Normally, these comets are not very active and don't show a marked variation like what happened with this one. Also, this unexpected brightness should cause fragmentation. The comet should be breaking apart, which hasn't happened. It remains cohesive, which has surprised scientists. That's it, that point is gonna make a lot of things have to be reconsidered for the future of comet research, since it's an interstellar object that came from outside the solar system. Its behavior isn't following many of the rules that were believed to apply to everything. Comets and this one don't match in this case. The brightness also doesn't match what has been seen in other comets. They keep expecting fractures. They keep expecting it to split. They keep expecting a big cloud of gas, which also hasn't happened. They even claim there could be electromagnetic signals, although there is still no evidence of artificial emissions. Interstellar objects that drastically change shape or composition are monitored for electromagnetic anomalies. Like what happened with Oumuamua, which by the way still generates a lot of speculation to this day. And there are many very interesting theories about it. For now, what they don't want is for it to be underestimated or overestimated, but simply studied. This object is as open as possible, at least for now. This is the comet, which doesn't behave like a comet, at least not like what is known so far. There will obviously be many questions, for example, maybe about how little we know about comets, or maybe if there's something else there, and several curious details that I would like to explain. They're about the latest studies and pre-studies, some of which have already published findings. For example, the James Webb Space Telescope has reported the gas cloud and its surrounding dust are mainly made up of carbon dioxide 2, in a very high proportion compared to water, to the little water it has. It raises the question, where does all this carbon dioxide come from and why does it have so much? Specifically, he says the carbon dioxide 2 ratio is 8:1 among the highest ever observed for comets, something that for now is not understood. Why? Another study, also one of the most recent, detected that the emission of hydroxyl, or hydroxyl is a precursor by the way of water. He notes frozen water activity is lower than expected. Does that catch your attention? Another thing that stands out. High-quality images have been obtained by the Gemini telescope of Chile, which show that the coma, or the tail and the trail, are growing a bit as it gets closer to the sun. Actually, instead of getting closer, it's moving away from the sun. This will allow them to analyze its gas structure a bit more. Not as much as expected, but it has grown a little. Some data from the Thermal Emission Spectrometer satellite was also identified, where it was already observed that they had seen the object before, but they hadn't realized it was a comet. So, are you going to investigate those images as well? Did they review the images again? Before the discovery, they said, look, the comet was there and we missed it. So that's a topic they're also going to analyze, so there will probably be more information. Images, size, and prior investment were noted. We'll see how it performs. Days or weeks before, or maybe months before. And that's also something that's new. Another thing that stands out is that polarimetric studies are being done, which show that 3 and Atlas have negative polarization. Deep in its scattered light, there is a polarization that is negative and very deep, which makes it different from other comets in the solar system. It could reflect a surface or a coma with different properties, so the way it reflects light is also different from other objects. Another topic then that adds to the oddities of this object is the high proportion of carbon dioxide, 2 for example. It clearly doesn't act like known comets. What does the object's polarization indicate? Another topic that's also being tried to understand at this moment is believed that the size is 5 to 6 kilometers, by the way. That's another topic. The size was reconsidered, he says. Its precise size still has uncertainty. But an analysis from the Hubble Space Telescope set an upper limit for the nucleus of about 5 to 6 kilometers in diameter. But it hasn't been seen directly. There's still a lot of light around and you can't really see how big the nucleus is. So 5 or 6 could easily be 20 kilometers or maybe less than 5 kilometers. There are still doubts, but well, the measurement was reconsidered again. Still, the link between its activity and brightness raises doubts. Its trajectory, its internal structure, its composition are not fully understood. More data is needed, more information, more images, more thermal history, more mechanical history. It is currently considered so. An observation of the sunrise section, and this will be key to being able to observe how its activity declines. In theory, as it moves from the sun, the comet will begin to fade. That's what's expected. We'll see if that's how it happens, right? Well, this is the update so far. If there's more information, we'll be adding it throughout the day. Thank you very much for joining us. Check out the playlist of all the videos we've made about the Atlas. And, well, let's try to learn little by little what's happening. Let's move on to another topic. Here I leave you some of the information about what's happening in the world. See you later.